players for us that were going through that process. As well as we had a couple guys in USA basketball. We've had some normal kind of end of the year injuries that where guys had surgeries that they had to recover from, and then some a few more things that I won't get specific with that have limited some guys. So it's really been a unique summer. I think it's going to make a real priority for us to have a great fall here moving forward. But it's been great to finally get our group together. It's been really, really exciting to get our team together here really since July. We've had the team intact minus one player. So it's been really exciting. It's been great working with them. This week is our final week, and then we'll go back home for a few weeks. So again, fall will be really important. I will make one announcement. Kalen Etzler, we're going to redshirt Kalen Etzler this year. So the young man has had a great conversation. I think it's something he's looking forward to, as is his family. We're looking forward to his development. So I'll let you guys ask questions here and about stuff.
Adam, go ahead and get started with the bounce around.
Well, like you said, you didn't know your team until July. You got all that time. You're trying to maybe make plans for the future. What were you able to plan for while you were waiting on decisions, and then once you said kind of know your team now, what are you able to start figuring out as you look ahead to the fall?
Yeah, we couldn't do a whole lot, to be honest with you. We because we had some guys that were still hampered by a few injuries, and then those guys being out. What we did is a lot of individual one-on-one skill work, which we didn't get to a whole lot of team stuff here until July, which is a little bit later than we normally would. But again, that was a process with DJ and Dwayne that we were, going to see that through, and we supported them seeing that through. That is something they both wanted to do. Their families wanted to do it. We fully supported it. We were going to let them see that through. And they, by no means did they hold our summer hostage. It's just it was that combination along with USA basketball just made it unique.
And when you talk about that, how do you use that time for more individual work, the skill work, and things like that? That's stuff you didn't get as much of last year. So maybe for some of the guys that are maybe going into their second year or third year, how important was that to get some of that time that maybe they missed out on?
Yeah, no, that's really important. I think one of the things you look at a guy like, I think guys have really gotten better every year they've been here, and a big part of that we believe is the development in the summer. You look at like Andre West and his numbers; they're inarguable how much better he got. He deserves a ton of credit for that. The shooting element in our program, it's inarguable. Guys shoot it better from one year to the next. And their efficiency improves, and that's, I think, in large part because of our summer development program. It's been really good. Dwayne, I'm excited about what this week could potentially be for him. He just kept getting better, and we did decide to return. I think he'd take another step forward. So the summer's been really important in just specific skill development and trying to determine what each guy needs. Go ahead.
Saw Jared Sullinger yesterday. I think he's taken a somewhat serious interest in coaching. He wants to be in college or pro. I don't know if you've had discussion wants to coach the big men here at some point. What would be your advice? I don't know if you've had interaction with them. And, what he needs to do to be a bona fide college assistant coach.
Well, if he's thinking about going into coaching, I'd ask him to consider. I'm kidding. Jared is tremendous. Yeah, Jared's tremendous. I think that he's got a tremendous, as we knew, Jared wants to continue playing for a little while longer, I understand. And then in college, the unique thing is he's got to finish his degree. But he brings a wealth of knowledge, a great feel for the game. And it's been fun watching him. I think he took over for Sweeney, 3 years ago maybe. So the 3 years that he's been going in with that team, it's been really fun. They came around for Pro Week. So I love Jared and love what he brings. because I think he's got a really bright future if he does decide to be a professional college or high school coach. He's got a really bright future, and it's in his bloodlines as well done.
I know EJ had a big improvement from freshman to sophomore year. What do you expect from him this season, and where do you expect him to play? Is it going to be strictly the four, or what do you envision?
Yeah, he's going to be almost exclusively at the four, and we've said that really since the end of the season, that's been our intent all along, because one of the things that I think people have maybe forgotten a little bit about is Zed Key had a really good freshman year, and he's a big guy. He's maybe not quite as tall as, but he's a big guy. He got great length, plays with great length, plays much bigger than he is. So we also always assumed that Zed was going to play more minutes as he moves forward in his career, obviously. So moving EJ, I think it's best. At the end of the day, it's best for EJ. It's best for his development. Having said that, he played offensively before last year. That's what he did. We play him inside now, but that's exactly how we played offensively. I think for him, it's about having some more defensive ability and versatility. He's got to show that. The teams that we spoke with really did not, the NBA teams really felt like his offensive game in a lot of ways could use some, they talked about his shooting and his ball handling a little bit, but he played very much a kind of a perimeter forward type position. We certainly posted him some. He'll continue to do that because he's so good at it. But he's going to exclusively play the four. There could be some times where we mix it up with him and Kyle. But yeah, I think for him, he's going to be playing against, in some cases, a smaller guy or a guy his size that might be able to move a little bit better. So that's just going to put a premium on his ball skills and fluidity and pads. That's good stuff.
And when you look at the front court, I mean, you just have a lot of guys, whether it's Zed, Joey, Seth, EJ, Kyle, and then at the three, Justice, Eugene. How do you figure out how to best figure out some sort of rotation when you have so many veteran guys who I assume are all going to play?
Yeah, I think that's not unique to us. If you look at rosters in our league, or if you look at rosters in the top programs that are in the top, say, 25 or 20 in the country, most of them this year have 13, some have 15 scholarship players that all, in essence, kind of think they're going to play. So this is not unique to us. This is a byproduct of what we all know, the super seniors that are coming back. It's created more depth. I think it's too early to tell right now because we really haven't spent a whole lot of time together as a team. We'll have a better feel for that really in September, in October after our first scrimmage. And then early in the season, we'll have a better feel. It's hard to make any statements right now beyond the proven guys we have in our program. I can't really make any statements about where we would position guys.
Chris, with EJ playing more of the four this year, I guess, there were times last year where it seemed like it worked to your advantage when he was put in positions where 5 men had to guard him.
Yeah.
How do you maybe balance what's best for him and what's best for you guys in terms of offensive efficiency, depending on his positioning?
Well, he and I will have that conversation, but I think he can still play to his advantage and have strengths at that position. He played mostly the four his freshman year, mostly the four. It was just last year where he played more towards the end of the season, but he played a little bit more. It was really who he was defending, right? So I think there will be times where he'll be able to guard a four, but I think he'll be played by a five some, which will still give him a real advantage. But I think whether he's guarded by a four or a five, I think in EJ's case, he's got to find a way to utilize his advantage in whatever matchup that is. And you're right; it's one of the things last year he really benefited from because I think he had a advantage going into almost every game. He just was an impossible guard, and I think he's going to be hard to guard again. But you're right, he's gonna be guarded by a more mobile, in some cases, you put him out there with Zed and Joey, he's gonna be guarded with a more mobile, by a more mobile guy. I think the challenge will be, when he's out there with Kyle, how are they gonna match up? You know, that could be something we look at.
Start just to follow up on Kalen, is this simply just a developmental thing, or it's not injury related?
No, he's not injured. Yeah, he's not injured. It was, when we recruited him, we had that conversation. So that was a conversation, you know.
And then obviously Dwayne's gone, CJ's gone, which means regardless, you're gonna have a new starting backcourt this year. Just start with Michi, how's his development going? How much of an impact did those, even if it was 5 minutes game last year, have you seen that kind of show up this summer?
I think it really helped. I think last year really helped Michi. Really helped him. He's had a good summer. He's had a good summer. And, you know, I'm excited about what this year can do for him. You know, I'm excited about our young guards. I think they're gonna be young, they're gonna go through growing pains for sure. But I'm excited about our young guards that we have, including Malachi. There will certainly be times when we play a lot of 3-guard lineups this year.
And then just some house stuff, house staff, and Jimmy.
Yeah, they really have been out most of the summer just with dealing with, you know, surgery and some other things with health-related things. Nothing significant with Seth. They're just now getting back to where they're fully clear. But, you know, obviously, Jimmy had a pretty significant surgery there in the shoulder.
Chris, I know there's going to be, like you just said, growing pains with freshmen, but just looking at the type of impact guy Malachi can be, and maybe just the off season that he's had too, just how great you think that's going to be, considering you lose Dwayne this year.
Yeah, really excited about Malachi, really excited about his, you know, his growth and his future moving forward. He's young, you know, he's young for his class, and he's still got a young frame. You can tell he's got to get stronger, he's got to get more physical. I think his leg strength, his upper body strength, all that has to take steps forward. But he's such a tremendous kid, and he's got really good size and length. His wingspan's about 6'9", at 6'4". His ball skills have continued to grow and improve. You know, in high school, he kind of played all over, really, for their team. He'll play more of, you know, either guard or wing spot here primarily, but really excited about what he can be. I think he'll look like a freshman at times, and then he'll look like a guy who's, you know, has a tremendous future at times. That's the natural development for young players.
Chris, going back to EJ, a couple people I've talked to about him, especially looking forward his NBA career, mentioned his handles, and you brought that up. How much is that a focus for you guys? And going back to Bill's question, kind of what you need him to do, but what he needs to develop if he wants to play at the next level. You know, do you guys want him to focus on that, or does he need to continue to be more of a post guy?
Yeah, for EJ, the feedback that we got from NBA teams was really it was the two things they hit on the most was consistent shooting, defensive versatility. The ball handling piece was kind of third in their mind, or at least from the people we talked to. So I think that's an important skill for him to continue to grow and improve in. But the other two areas, I think, for his development are most important in most of the NBA teams we talked about. I think it's those three things, really. You know, he's probably got to continue to improve his body. But shooting, defensive versatility, and then ball handling.
With Dwayne gone, the impact Cedric can have. I mean, you know, we've seen his numbers, we've seen what he's done against, you know, Baylor and things like that. But what did you guys like about him that made him, you know, the right guy to add there?
Well, we didn't, even though he came in after Dwayne, it's not like we brought him in as quote unquote the replacement for Dwayne. I think Cedric's going to have to figure out this level, challenge at this level, all of those things. But I do think that he's got a real ability to make shots. He's proven that throughout his career. And I think when you look at what he's done and what he particularly did last year against high-level competition, we just felt like it particularly kind of at the 1-2, the ball handling we'll see, I'm excited. He's graduating, so he's not here. He's graduating, he'll be here once he graduates.
Chris, are you watching with interest the talk of realignment, conference realignment? Do you have any suggestions for your conference? What do you?
Will you listen to my suggestion?
Maybe.
This is the place probably to give it then, with all the cameras here. We got wards watching. I haven't, we've really been busy recruiting, to be honest with you. I was on the road this weekend and you started to hear it. I was watching a game, Saturday morning, and I had a media guy say next to me, "Hey, did you know such and such is about to join the Big Ten?" I thought he was joking. And then there was a coach on my left and a media guy on my right, and they got to talking about it. And, you know, I'll have conversations with Gene, you know, if I have questions or concerns, but it's really not something I've given a lot of. We certainly talked about opening offices. And those are high-level decisions that, you know, at some point I'll have a conversation with Gene about it, for sure.
Just going back to the young guards, how important was it for you to get someone like Jamari and Cedric for those guys to learn from that hasn't experienced before, especially the departure of CJ?
Well, you know, obviously our CJ was tremendous for us. CJ Walker did a lot of really, really good things for us. He and Dwayne, I thought, had really good years. I think we knew we were going to probably lose, as the season went on, we thought we definitely could lose Dwayne. And we knew where CJ was going to be moving on. So we needed some veteran guys, and I think Jamari was the first one. I mean, Jamari's been really good. He's been an everyday guy in these workouts. He has brought a competitiveness and a defensive approach that I think we need. He's got to improve in some things defensively, but we all know his ball hawking is tremendous. And he competes. He really competes on that end. So, you know, he was important for us, and he's just brought a real everyday approach to his work, which has been, I think, important when you have, you know, some young perimeters.
You mentioned the defense, and we know there were some issues there last year, which Jamari can bring you. As you've worked on some of these individual things and starting to look forward to the fall, how are you trying to focus on that and trying to improve at that end of the court?
Yeah, the fall is going to be really important for us on that. You know, we've certainly looked at it as coaches. You don't want to overcorrect at them because our defense has been consistently really good. It's typically been a top 20 defense in the country. So I want to be careful not to overcorrect. If it was a pattern, it would probably be a different story. But this has not been a pattern, you know, of our teams typically dating back to Butler. And I think for us, you know, you look back and we are going to change some things. We are going to change how we play, some defensively. We've committed to doing that, but I think the biggest thing is looking at our personnel. There's some things we need to address, and then I think collectively, our conversation as a group, our buy-in has to be great on that.
And when you do add a guy like Cedric, sort of late into the summer, you've got guys that are here that probably think their roles might be a certain thing, and now there's a new face in the mix. How do you go about, I guess, working or talking through that with your players and just making sure that doesn't, you bring a guy in and it pushes a guy out the door?
You know, listen, I think it's a real question, but as I mentioned, this is pretty common right now. You look at rosters. I could pull up, you know, teams that are projected to win our league right now, and you would see 13, 14 scholarship players. This is not just unique to us. I think that you got to have conversations, but at the end of the day, it is a competitive, you know, business that we're in, and at the end of the day, I think we'll see guys that really kind of rise to the occasion, and whatever is given to them will be earned. I understand you can't play, you know, 12, 13 guys. I think that's not realistic. At some point, our rotation, well, it might be a little bit bigger this year. At some point, as the season progresses, maybe it'll be tailored down a little bit, but we've got a lot of work between now and then. And at the end of the day, I think players realize that they're going to have to earn the playing time.
When you look at the addition of Cedric, how much of it was, you have a veteran roster right now, a talented roster, and you just want to leave no stone unturned. If you get this last guy, you didn't have to make a move, but you wanted to make this move just in case, if you didn't have them, maybe that's an issue that you might have down the line.
Yeah, and it helped that Tony had recruited him and knew him. I think that was a part of this. If there was a couple other guys, honestly, that we were recruiting that we felt like Cedric would be a better fit, maybe because he wouldn't be as ball dominant potentially. So you're always having those conversations, I think there was a lot of discussion on that once we realized Dwayne was going to move on. It is. I have to be honest. The idea that we were a little bit banged up, more than a little bit banged up, going into the end of the year last year. You could certainly look at 4 games, 4 days, what that did to our bodies physically. But I do think as a coach, I probably would be lying if I didn't say that didn't factor in some to I just felt like we were a little bit thinner than we needed to be. And some of that was, some really unique circumstances with an Eagle going down at the start of the season. And then other injuries that happened. But I think I'd be honest and say that was a factor.
Not to compare you guys to football, but 2 years ago, off season, we heard a lot about Ohio State losing to Clemson as a motivation for Ryan's team. You guys obviously were very disappointed with that first round loss, and I know it's different when you're that close to a championship as opposed to a whole tournament, but how much has that loss to Oral Roberts kind of been a driving force for this team this offseason?
I think I'm interested to see as a group once we get everybody together and once we spend time together, because we have certainly a lot of guys. We've had great continuity from last year to this year in terms of our roster. I think we're top 10% in the country in terms of our continuity. When you look at across college basketball, we've had tremendous continuity in our roster. I think so you have certainly a lot of guys who've been a part of that, who were a part of that experience. And it's something we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about. As I said, you have to lean into extreme disappointment in life and let it hopefully use it. So I'm anxious to see for us moving forward, kind of what that whole moment means for us as a group. I think for us, we've had 3 postseason NCAA tournament opportunities because of the COVID year in our 4 years. And 2 of the 3 years where we probably weren't predicted to go to the tournament, we performed really well. We didn't last year. And I'm anxious to see how we use that moving forward.
And this is a team that externally at least has some pretty high expectations. Do you lean into that as well? Do you talk to the guys about what is being said? I mean, obviously they hear things, but how much do you, when you have a team that's preseason top 15 or whatever you guys end up being, how much do you talk about that, address handling expectations with guys that maybe haven't had to do this at this level? I mean, we just haven't seen a team like this under you yet.
Yeah. Listen, I think that those conversations may come, but I think we're far ways away from that. And you've heard me talk about this idea of just staying in the moment every day. It's Bob Gibson's line: the most important pitch is strike one. I just think that's where we're at right now. It is the idea of just what's next. Let's make sure that next thing we're doing as well as we can. We'll get to that at some point, but I think we're
Chris, what's the most seniors you have on the team before?
I'm sure this is because they're super seniors. I don't think our Sweet 16 team a couple of years ago, I think had 5 5 maybe. I think that our Sweet 16 team had maybe 5. That would have been the most. That was in 17, 18 or whatever that was, 16, 17. So this would be the most.
So, I mean, you talk about getting old quick a lot. That's been like, you talk. So, I mean, you don't have to get old quick. You already kind of are old.
Yeah.
What's the benefit there with literally got 8 guys on this roster who are seniors, redshirt seniors, and graduate seniors and whatnot?
Yeah, I think old matters. When I said that initially, what I really meant was, I think the old matters. It does matter. I think it really does help too if you're old and experienced together. I think that really helps your team. You look at Baylor this year; they were old. Look at a lot of teams, but again, that doesn't mean that we're always going to have young players. We're always going to play young players. We won't ever have another roster like this, ever. There will never be a time where we have another roster like the one we have right now. It's a blend of a lot of, we're already going to be pretty old, and then you have a guy like Kyle Young who, come on, Kyle, you're a pretty special player, man. It's the last thing I'm doing is saying, no, I think Kyle, maybe there's a better enough. Come on back, Kyle. We missed you. So we'll never have another roster.
So, were you shocked that he came back into the way you're talking about it now?
Yeah, I don't know if I was shocked because Kyle loved him. Listen, and the same is true with Dwayne, even though Dwayne has left. But legacy matters. It mattered to EJ in his decision, and it matters to Kyle. And again, it mattered to Dwayne too. Dwayne just made a decision that I think was a solid decision. But legacy in their decisions really mattered. Both EJ and Kyle's decision, it mattered. So when you hear guys talk about, hey, I want to go out and be able to leave an imprint and be remembered for doing something significant and playing a specific way, accomplishing something. I'm not saying that that's a rarity with today's athlete, but it's not always common. And for those two guys, I do think it was a factor in both their decisions.
Chris, with Kyle, do you consider load management at all now that you have a little more depth in the front court
Yeah.
with his legs? I mean, you'd like to have him at the end of the year too, I'd imagine. It seems
Yeah.
like maybe you can stretch those minutes out a little bit now.
Yeah. Boy, I hope we can avoid elbows.
That too, yeah.
That would be tremendous. You could see some of those coming. We did it last year, Bill, with him. We did practice. We had a whole plan in place for him because of his legs. His legs actually are feeling the best they felt, really in a couple of years. So I do think we could, he's never played more than 25 minutes. So I do think we could, to make sure that he is ready at the end of the year, I do think we could utilize the idea of just watching his minutes throughout the year. And whether that's load management or looking at his practice habits, he's going to do everything you ask him to, so we really try to manage that. We'll continue to do that.
Ask a couple questions.
Is it easier to care about your legacy if you can make some money off your name and image like
Sure.
this?
Yeah, but was that a factor? He could answer for it, but I think so.
I think in general, can you see that how it, for some guys moving forward?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's, it doesn't mean that one trumps the other in their minds, that they're the only ones that can tell you that. But I think the idea that they get to take advantage and actually profit off their own name or image or likeness is going to really benefit and make it potentially a tougher decision for certain kids. Guys that maybe are in a specific category of potentially being drafted or not being drafted. I still think you'll see the trend that's continued the last 5 to 8 years in college basketball, but young men will continue to professionalize as soon as they see the real opportunity for that. That's just where it's headed, that's where it's been, there's no, it's just like, people get shocked about, transfers all the time, like that ship sailed 10, 15 years ago in college basketball. Same things, the game's different, but will name, image, and likeness impact some decisions? I don't think it will.
Ask about JT Kumar,
I'm surprised, it's taken, how long has it been before I got the first question?
half hour, I was talking, that is what I was.
I was prepared, it's number one right here, JTT, right?
Did you expect him to play at all, and did you scout him at all to even know what he would bring if he hypothetically played?
Yeah, we've seen him, and we haven't seen him live, but we've seen him on film. We watched him a little bit, listen, I think we're a ways away from him stepping onto a court. Ryan and I'll have conversations. I'm sure ultimately will come down to what the young man and his family really want to do. I met with him when he was here. We had breakfast. Beautiful kid, beautiful family. He's a good player. I'm not going to stand in the way of a national championship or first round pick. First pick, I guess.
Want to follow on, and that sort of, there are other people who have dual sport offers for you guys in your class. I know you can't talk about it individually. There's another one who just got 3 MAC offers this week who are football first prospects. How do you feel about the concept of the dual offers and guys who are huge targets for football teams, but also maybe want to play basketball?
Well, I think if they have conversations with us, which they have, the football staff has conversations with us and said, hey, this young man has genuine interest in it. We're open to it. We understand those conversations are always ongoing. But if they ask us to meet with the young man, which they have, because he has interest in basketball, we'll have conversations. We just had another one this past weekend while we were on the road, with a potential dual sport player, maybe who you're mentioning. So we'll gladly, I think one of the coordination between both staffs in recruiting, they've met with some of our guys. We don't have any dual sport players over there. But they've met with our guys on occasion. There's great coordination between both staffs. We love them. Ryan and I will be talking specifically about JT's situation. I'm sure as we get closer to it and decide what's best for him.
EJ could make a pretty decent tight end, I've heard. That's it.
Yeah, that's not
Well, along the lines of specifics you can't get into, but you guys have some things going right now in the recruiting role in 2022, and it's a class that seems to have Jake Giebler's imprint on it. He's 3 years into his time here at Ohio State. What is he providing as an assistance? It's hard sometimes to write about or evaluate assistants knowing exactly what their roles are, but what is he giving you, and how important has he been for 2022?
Yeah, Jake's been fantastic. He's been a tremendous asset, a tremendous hire. When I hired him, I really was talking through. He had went through a really challenging situation at Vandy where they didn't win an SEC game, and I thought it spoke a lot about him during that whole process, just how he handled the whole interview process. In a really good way. He's been phenomenal, tremendous work ethic. I think with Ryan Peden and Jake and Tony, I really believe this is a tremendous staff, a high-level staff. Really excited about the addition of Tony. But we have what I think is a potential class, and keep your Twitter fingers handy in the next couple of days. I think we have a potential class that is one that you've kind of worked towards building, and I'm really excited about really the last couple of years. We just haven't brought in quite the numbers because we haven't needed to. With all that we're losing, we need to bring in a really solid class that can impact things. And I'm excited about that. Really excited about it.
Chris, your opponent in the Big Ten ACC challenges would really be
Duke, what's it gonna mean to you to be able to host Duke here at the shot while it's also Coach K's spot, so, you're tired.
Yeah, I heard that. Listen, we'll talk about it more as we get closer, but, it's a great opponent, and, I'm excited about the atmosphere, the environment that's gonna be here, because they're a tremendous school, tremendous opponent, obviously, one of the greatest coaches our game has seen, so, looking forward to it, but, we'll get some, we just gotta get some practice number one, but that'll be a great opportunity. A couple more, any others?
Last one, Coach, I think it's been a little while since we've last talked to you. Have you, with the new makeup of the staff, determined sort of a new de facto defensive coordinator after Rose retired?
Jake.
Is Jake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I decided that, pretty early, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, guys, all right, be well.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.